Health risks among firefighters is a global problem. We know that those are clearly linked to different substances, toxins and particles.
I have lost too many colleagues in too early age. Enough is enough. Therefore, I started to create the behavior model just to do something.
Everything you do to reduce exposure will benefit you in the long run.
A very warm welcome from our side. My name is Annalisa and today we are going to talk about healthy firefighters. Therefore, I would like to introduce our two experts from Sweden. To my near left, I would like to introduce Stefan Magnusson. Welcome, Stefan. Nice to have you here. And then I would like to introduce David Holtman as well. David, you are a fire protection engineer, and Stefan, you are basically the creator of the Skellefteå model.
Yes.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having
Why
us.
is it so important to talk about post-fire health risks and the topic of healthy firefighting as well?
Well, so health risks among firefighters is a global problem. And there's a lot of knowledge, research that has determined the firefighting profession and the correlation to different kinds of diseases and illnesses.
Well, there are crystal clear risks by research, and nowadays the World Health Organization also have decided that. And the most obvious risk is different cancer diseases in where firefighters are overrepresented. But we have also seen, which is a big concern, that we can have fertility disturbing actions. And by that said, the cancer diseases will have a very long latency. It takes very long time to develop a cancer disease. In the other end, we have fertility disturbing who can go very quickly.
Yeah, there are also respiratory problems. And just to add to what Stefan said there, when we're talking about, definitely when we're talking about carcinogenic problems and fertility disorders, we know that those are clearly linked to the exposure of different substances and toxins and particles that we find in normal, quote-unquote, fire smoke. So there are quite a few different types of illnesses and diseases, but mainly as cancer diseases are potentially the most lethal, we tend to focus more on those.
Okay.
And in the research world, there is a word who is calling SMO, three letter SMO. It's a shortcut of a very complicated word, but they use that word to compare populations against each other. Short example, when you start as a firefighter, you have 0.7 SMO in risk of getting certain cancer diseases. A normal population have 1.0 to get the same diseases.
Yes.
After 5 years as a firefighter, you have 2.0. And that's research. That's ice cold numbers.
Double the risk, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can just add to that fact, like what happened with the World Health Organization was that they, for the first time, managed to determine the highest level of certainty when they look at the firefighting profession and the what is called carcinogenic to human beings. So that correlation is as strong as it's scienceable possible to say. And there's been plenty of indications in the past as well. And I mean, it's quite obvious, you know, getting exposed to carcinogens might cause cancer in the long run. Then there's a problem, like looking at the individual. It's always hard to say that this individual got cancer from this profession, because there's always a possibility that the very same person could have the same type of disease even if he or she didn't work as a firefighter. But we have to look at the group level, and when we are looking at the group level, the correlation is very strong, certainly for different types of cancer diseases. And what Stefan mentioned is something that is called the healthy worker effect. And when you are looking at the overrepresentation for firefighter as a group compared to the average population, then you can see, okay, you have a heightened risk of getting a disease. But that actually camouflages the healthy worker effect, just like Stefan said. Because as a firefighter, you don't start from zero. You don't start from better health than the average population. There are fewer smokers among the firefighters. They have a more healthy lifestyle. They have a more healthy lifestyle. They eat more healthy. Not only when they start as a firefighter, not only when they start as a firefighter, but throughout their entire career. Which means that the actual effect that you can expect from the firefighting profession is much higher than the overrepresentation, which is in and of itself is bad enough. In and of itself, but the actual effect from the exposure you get at work, from the exposure you get at work as a firefighter is worse.
So let me summarize. There is a correlation, and the correlation is strong.
Correct.
What we know is that there are several types of hazardous substances entering the body. What kind of ways are there hazardous substances can enter the body? Stefan?
We used to talk about 3 ways which those substances have entrance our bodies. And the first is, of course, when we are breathing, to take it into our lungs and transport it out in the body. And then we have ingestion. Short way to say we eat it, but it's not that easy. But that's the other way. And the third way is, and the biggest way is, and the dangerous way is, if you ask me, is the skin. The skin is the body's biggest organ, and it's like a sponge. So a human being have big issues when that human being is in a bad environment. Even if we have breathing apparatus, and even if we don't eat something at that point, so we still have a skin.
Well, if I can add to like a segue to this question and the previous one, like even if you are protected with personal protective equipment, I mean that's very important. You can't be reckless when you are fighting fires. You need to use the PPE properly, and that's the best protection you have when you are at the scene. But it's also a bit sneaky if you think about the turnout gear, the jacket and pants that the firefighters are using. When you are using it and when you stay on air with the air pack on the back, you tend to feel almost invincible. Right? You feel like almost
a knight in armor,
like a Superman.
Yeah.
And you can perform tasks that would kill you if you didn't have that PPE.
For sure.
However, the turnout gear is mainly designed for protecting the body from heat, not from the 50,000 different chemical compounds in the smoke.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's a bit treacherous because we know that there are many particles and substances and chemical compounds that can penetrate the turnout gear right through it. So even if you have the perception that right now I'm safe because I'm protected and I'm wearing the PPE, as you should, you are still exposed.
And what's even worse is that your skin is protectable in certain levels, if it's a cold skin or if it's a hot skin. And when you're fighting a fire and when you have your PPE clothes on, your skin is always hot because it's impossible to not sweat. And that means that your skin is wide open.
Yeah.
And second aspect of that is that if your PPE is taking up a lot of poison from the environment around you, when you are stop fighting that fire and should return to your home station, if you don't get rid of those clothes as fast as possible, the clothes is feeding your body with poison. Every minute with passing is feeding your skin with poison. So it's very important to have routines to get rid of that.
And another layer of that, I mean, we're talking now about the times when you are exposed, like immediately. Big fires, small fires, training. But if you add another layer to that, I mean, if you think about it, the time that a professional firefighter spends at the fire station or in the vehicle, eating at the station, sleeping, training, working out, everything. If you don't have a proper system for cleaning the PPE, for instance, you will spend a lot of time in spaces and handling equipment that isn't decontaminated. So all those occasions, they all together add up to a much larger dose than those few occasions with high concentration of exposure.
For an example, if this is a PPE breathing apparatus, you know that if that has been on a scene and are contaminated, you should wear gloves and so on, not touching it.
Yeah.
And you do so. You have gloves and you put it in a washing or dishing machine. But what you could forget is where it just was.
True.
That's a contaminated surface. And those surfaces are everywhere inside a fire station if you don't look up. And therefore the routines are so very important to get rid of that risk. Because if you put contaminated things here and there and everywhere, you will touch it all the time. And everything you touch on, you put into your own skin in different ways. So routines are the most important thing.
I can imagine. And therefore, but for many more examples, you created a protection model. May you explain this model for us?
Yeah, the model was actually born because I have lost too many colleagues in too early age. So when I was on the funeral of my fourth colleague in a couple of years, who have died in diseases that same as the other or similar, kind of similar as the other three, I took my foot and put it on the ground and say that enough is enough. And therefore I started to create the behavior model just to do something, because nobody has done nothing until that point. First of all, the Skellefteå model is made because it should be easy to work after. And the first step is, once you are on your work as a firefighter, you should always start your work with clean equipment and clean PPE. And when you get an alert, you get into a clean truck with clean clothes, free from contaminations, and go to head, whatever it is. In this case, it's a fire. You have to instinct that fire, and you do that the way you have been trained and with smartness to not be too much contaminated. When the work is done, it's very important that you get rid of the poison equipment and your own poison PPE clothes and take them away into an air-contaminated space or bags to transport them back to your home station in another place than you are by yourself. And when you get back to the station, it's very important that you have routines, so it's very simple and crystal clear how to take care of the contaminated equipment. Clothes, breathing apparatus, chainsaws, hose, whatever. Once that is done, you got a new alert. And then that is kind of a circle, a firefighter's life.
Yeah, I can just add, I mean, if we break it down, there are critical components in a cyclical routine like this. Of course, when you reach the incident scene, you have to work responsibly, and everything you do to reduce exposure will benefit you in the long run. For instance, if you make sure that you never park the vehicle, if possible, in the smoke envelope, that will mean that you will never contaminate the truck. If you aren't able to park upwind or attack the fire upwind with the wind behind your back, I mean, there are usually equipment that you can use. You can take out the fan and push the smoke in front of you so you don't get as contaminated. And then there are the actions that we do to protect the individual at the time. Get out of the bunker gear as fast as possible, take that shower. And the other things are made to eliminate the cross-contamination and secondary exposure. That's why you bag all the gears as soon as you are done. And that way you don't contaminate the cabin in the truck. You can have them at designated places, locked in with encapsulated bags, for instance. And that way you don't spread the toxins when you get back to the station. So instead you can decontaminate everything. So it's helpful to look at this model as something cyclical, because it's repeating. It happens again and again. That it doesn't really matter what kind of accident you are responding to. The procedure is more or less the same. And in another context, that's how you operate as a firefighter. You act at a call, and then what you do after the operation and between the operation is what will affect your total exposure.
That's why the model is focusing so much on habits and knowledge, right?
Yeah.
The important thing is to break that chain of contamination. So regardless how you doff the gear, you need to do it as fast as possible. I would say that is paramount, really.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you will have the situation where you cross-contaminate everything, and where you can find exposure in almost every occasion. So I would once again highlight that regardless how you do it, it's important to do it as soon as possible when you have finished extinguishing your fire and when you are done on the scene with the immediate actions. So as soon as possible, get out of your bunker gear and take that shower and clean your body as soon as possible. Encapsulate everything that's contaminated, so you don't get that cross-contamination, and then you can clean it or decontaminate it in an orderly manner, where you have the possibility to have protection for your airways and for your skin. But the immediate action is to get out of what's contaminated, encapsulate it so it doesn't spread the toxins to other surfaces that you're using.
And the next step is, of course, that you need some tools to do this. You need washing machines and dishing machines and so on. So once you have encapsulate the poison things, you can just put them and let them be for a while until you are ready, until you have good light, until you have eaten, until you are not tired, and so on. So you can take care of it in a proper manner.
You know, so that's always the important thing, to keep the process as simple as possible, because we have seen so many times different complicated solutions that require lots of work. And as we have established, the human being is lazy by default. And if you have a procedure that is too complicated, you tend not to do it.
I do it next time.
Yeah, exactly. Next time. Only this one time. It's not that bad. And especially, I mean, you can find yourself in a situation, you know, in the middle of the night. Maybe you're tired, you're hungry, you just want to go back home. It's bad weather, you know, whatever. So the process really needs to be as simple as possible in order for it to actually be carried out.
Smooth.
Yeah, it can't be too complicated.
Thank you so much, Stefan and David, for traveling over here from Sweden, answering all these important questions, and of course, explaining the Skellefteå model. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having us. It was a pleasure.
See you next time. Thank you so much. Bye. Now we want to have a look at how we can implement the model, and therefore I would like to introduce Simon Vogt. Simon,
hi.
Nice to have you
Welcome.
here. You are the Global Cleaning Product Manager, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. I'm doing this since more than 4 years now at Dräger. I'm taking care of the whole cleaning procedure, machines and detergents to protect our PPE.
You're the expert of implementation and implementing the Skellefteå model especially. How is an implementation possible, and especially in terms of the workshop setup, how can we implement the Skellefteå model?
Well, if we implement the Skellefteå model, that's pretty simple, because we have to divide the workshop into 2 areas, a clean area and a contamination area. I'm saying simple because if you think about your own situation, if you take a walk and you come back home with your dirty shoes, you don't want them in your living room. You try to get them off, take them off in front of your house if possible.
For sure.
And saying that, that's why we say, okay, if we separate the workshop in 2 areas, we kind of solve the huge problem to contaminate the clean area. And we have an area where we have to wear PPE to protect ourselves against the toxic substances from the PPE and protect the other area by getting contaminated.
Cleaning is basically a huge topic doing your profession. What science aspects have been considered in this term, and what is the issue behind cleaning?
When we developed our cleaning procedure, we had the science of Herbert Sinner behind, who implemented the Sinner Circle. And this Sinner Circle defines 4 parameters to reach a good cleaning result. It doesn't matter what product you try to clean, it's always 4 parameters, and they are balanced to each other. The parameters are temperature, cleaning time, chemicals to add, and mechanic treatment. And with the 4 different parameters, it's not that we can just choose whatever we want. We are addicted to some parts of it. For example, the materials we choose for our PPE are sensitive, so we can't reach the temperature, we can't exceed the temperature to any level we want to. We also can't do a very heavy mechanical treatment on them, so because otherwise we scratch, for example, visors. And so we can play a little bit around with temperature and with time and with chemicals.
You already mentioned chemicals. Chemicals are an important part of the cleaning process. What is especially so important about the detergents and especially chemicals as well?
Yes, we need a certain kind of detergents and chemicals to get rid of the toxic substances and dirt. But we can't take very aggressive chemicals because we have to be sensitive to our materials. That helps to protect our lives, of course, such as breathing membranes and stuff. So that's why we, Dräger took a huge project 3 or 4 years ago to define the perfect detergents suited to our materials.
So many science behind that as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Machinery cleaning becomes more and more common in the business. Why is this so?
Yeah, I think nobody else does manual dishwashing at home. So it's also an improvement in the firefighting market that we use mechanical cleaning. And with the mechanical cleaning, we can also automate some of these parameters from the Sinner Circle. For example, the time and the temperature and the detergent dosage is already done. So we can only focus on the mechanical treatment, which is also done in the machine, but it helps to have an automatic process. So nothing can go wrong. That's one of the biggest advantages. And of course, it goes faster and it's more controlled.
So huge advantages of machinery cleaning. And as we already have heard, human beings are in general lazy, which is one more argument for machinery cleaning.
It's also something for the Skellefteå model, because if there's something to do which you don't want to do, it maybe it's like a nasty thing and you say, maybe I do it later, I do it maybe not today, not tomorrow, or I don't want to do it at all. So also machine cleaning helps to implement the cleaning process and to get this nasty thing done.
Yeah, no argument to do it later anymore. Do different machines for cleaning of PPE exist, and are different types of machinery important?
Yes, there are different machinery types in the market. Since Dräger is doing this since more than 20 years, we started with normal washing machines, putting our full-face masks into the washing bags and then in the washing machine. But this is not really effective any longer because it takes a lot of time and you need to always have a huge amount in the machine to be compact. So we developed different machines which are more sensitive also to our products, such as spray nozzle machines in different sizes. So according to the fire station, to the size of the fire station and the amount of PPE that is there needs to be cleaned, we have small machines, medium-sized machines, and pre-cleaning machines and big machines. And the corresponding drying cabinets that are very important as the last step.
Mm-hmm. Even though machinery cleaning has so much more advantages, there are still lots of things to consider. Is there a kind of training necessary, or do you give the advice to be trained to use and use a machinery?
Yeah, of course, the IFU of the product always tells you what is possible and not, because not every product can go into the machine. We have sensitive products that needs to be cleaned manually, still manually. But we offer trainings for how to use a machine, and we also do we created videos which you can see on YouTube, how to clean manually to get this process done and start supporting our customers in doing it easy.
Mm-hmm. Great. Simon, thank you so much for answering all these important questions. And as we are in the Dräger Experience Lab, we of course have the chance to have a look at our machineries. And that's basically your part, Simon. I have to say goodbye because you would like to introduce us into our machineries.
Yes, I will do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice time. Welcome to the Experience Lab. We are now in the contaminated area. The goods are delivered in bags or trolleys and will be separated here by the workshop technician. He scans it into the workshop management system and defines the next steps for the cleaning procedure. Once this is done, we go over to the cleaning area. At this table, the goods gets prepared for the individual cleaning process Dräger defined for each product. First, we show you the cleaning area where the manual cleaning and pre-cleaning takes place. For the cleaning solutions, we have different detergents defined for each product. For some products, it's sufficient to use our special wipes. Now we move over to the machine cleaning area and explain you the machine process. For the best cleaning result, we recommend to disassemble the cylinder from the SCBA backplate. The reason is clear: we can reach the whole area of the SCBA. To avoid water getting into the pneumatic system, we have to pressurize the system. The machines are equipped with different cleaning cycles depending on the grade of contamination and can easily be chosen by pushing the buttons. After the cleaning process is done, we now move over to the clean area and show you the drying process. Drying is the last and important step of the cleaning procedure. Drying in a drying cabinet helps to increase the drying process by keeping its parameters which Dräger defines for each product. At Dräger, we focus on the safety of our customers. That's why we take care for cleaning in the very first beginning of the product development. Our cleaning process is tailored to our products. That means we have chosen the right detergents, the right machines and the right procedures to have the longest possible lifetime for our products and your safety.